So let me continue. Basically, remember, like, comment, subscribe, all that. This is part two of this video, and it's just talking about what happened to me during my time and my attempt on my own life. I want to completely disclose this honestly, and be as publicly honest as possible because I think it's really important that some people figure out um, what happens, when it happens, and how it worked out for me, and if and how to treat people a little bit when they are feeling down because I can give you my advice about how I felt and how I was feeling at different times during this, and how I think it could have gone better or worse. Um, And yeah, that's the main reason for this anyway. As well as that, maybe it helped me. Maybe it helped me get a few things off my chest. And you never know. I might be good therapy. Some may say I might be. It might be processing those unprocessed emotions and thoughts and feelings. As we spoke about in previous videos as well. Um, now, so I took the overdose about 6 o'clock on about 10 cans of alcohol because my good side of my brain told me to stop drinking because that was wise. And I took an overdose, and then I fell to sleep. Woke up about 2 in the morning, extremely sick, throwing up constantly, couldn't keep water down, so on and so forth. Um, so as I said last time, I had about a 16-hour window, and that gap was closing about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. Um, that gap was closing, and I was like, oh, I've got to decide to make the phone call, or I don't know how or what, and I was like, the gap's closed. So I'm screwed here, in a manner of speaking. So I called 111 up. They was like, right, we're gonna get an ambulance to you after I explained all the symptoms and everything. We need to get an ambulance to you. It'll be there within the next 2 hours. Um, they phoned me up a couple of times and I was like, how's it going, etc. So forth. And I was like, okay, it's fine. Not been sick for a while. Ambulance came. They did a couple of jobs. They came. They made sure I made sure all the pets were safe and sound, and everything was going on. Um, I put some water out for the cat and dog. Made sure there was food down, and we ended up going. I ended up getting taken to the hospital. It's about a 12 to 14 minute drive, and I managed to throw up quite profusely in the ambulance. And it wasn't until we got to the hospital that you get wheeled off the ambulance, you get taken off the ambulance. They put me into like room 13, by the way. I got put in a room 13. I found that kind of poetic in a manner of speaking. I then got put into room 13, and they did all these tests, like different kept checking my temperature. They put me on a solution because I needed 18 hours worth of this drip because of what I had taken. I think it's 18 hours worth of drip for what I'd taken. My friend had came over. Yeah, but my friend had came to the hospital, chatting to them. Then the mental health team came in, and like the doctors came in. They was all lovely, other than one who I completely couldn't understand, and the mental health nurse just seemed to be staring at him in this really odd manner every time he spoke. And I try to read body language. Half of my problem, I feel, because I read body language, because as soon as I can spot body language that's off, I start panicking, or and it'll affect me. But I picked up on a couple of vibes there, and I wasn't that impressed. If I dare say so myself. But then my friend went home, checked on all the animals, got me an overnight bag. One of them was a long sleeve t-shirt, and I had a thing in my arm, and it was kind of very hard to. It was about there. it was kind of very hard to have this long sleeve t-shirt on. But that's when we got to the ward. The ward itself, there was one really good nurse, and I'll get to them in a moment. I spent about 18 hours on this ward. Um, I'm going to call them left top would be one, then two, three. I was in three, and then four was next to me. So in the first one, there was a patient I must assume who had dementia, and I got 0 hours sleep. I was tired. I was ratty in the morning. Um, and it was okay. He was just very loud, and he had obviously, I think he'd been a soldier, because he started talking about everyone being dead in the hospital, like it was a military hospital. I then assume he came back and did a job in an office because he was there talking. Then a little bit later on, he had flipped his personality, and he was talking about wanting to get to work at 3 in the morning and make phone calls, and how everyone was lazy for being asleep. And I was like, oh, interesting chat. Then there was a guy over the way from me, absolutely lovely guy, and he was pissing himself laughing for half of what was being said from what I've seen. And it was like, oh, this is just, yeah. But it was absolutely fine. I didn't mind it. He was absolutely fine. The one to the left of me had skin irritation, I believe, or something along those lines. And he made some very interesting noises because I had my curtains closed for quite a bit, and he was making some very interesting noises. I could only assume what was going on in that room, but I assume it wasn't what I was thinking. But one's mind likes to wander when you've got nothing to do. But going back to dementia, it was really harrowing for me because it's my big fear is dementia. It's one of my biggest fears. I don't want if I realized I had dementia or anything along those lines, I wouldn't want to be alive. Even worse than that day. 100%. If I got diagnosed with early onset, I wouldn't be here. Um, and hospitals aren't great for me either because, like, I was attacked in Mablethorpe, and the hospital screwed me over Riley there by complete accident. It's something I'll probably go into in another video if I talk about trauma. Um, and if dementia got me stuck in that trauma, I would not be I'd not be happy. Um, had to contact my mother and people like that and lots of friends, and they was like, "Oh, you should have got in touch," and I was like, yeah, I know." And yeah, their workings wasn't the greatest, but yeah, I get where they're coming from. I get they care. It's just if you haven't been there, you've never been there, and I think that's something. Um, it was nice to have the animals back near me when I did get home. Mother was here for a day or two as well, and I just felt in a lot of pain for a while. But it's one of them things, and it's going to be a long time until I trust as much again. Um, but I hope that one day I can trust people a little bit more. But that's absolutely fine. Um, if you asked me if I want to die today, I'd say no. If you ask me if I want to be alive today, I'd probably also say no. That's where I'm at personally, and that's where I've been at for much of my life. Childhood trauma and things like that has not treated me well. So, why did I make this video? Um, it's just to get across what happened to me, break down some of the stigma. I really want to show others, and to think, most importantly, just to be kind, just and learn about mental health and things like that because it's so important. Kind of should always be at the forefront of whatever you think, do, or feel. Seeking help is not weak. That's another big point. Um, and if you fail to seek help, and nobody should hold this against you. If you fail to seek help, that is absolutely fine. I just hope that you do survive and that we can help you in the long term. And I want to end on this promise. I can never promise not to self harm. I cannot always. I can always try to promise that I will seek help, but I may not sometimes. I perhaps at a 3 on the Richter scale of happiness, which goes to 10. And I think I was higher than that before some things before last October. And I think too many knockbacks and be going from a usual 5 to a usual back to a usual 3. It was heavy for me and it was hard, but that was absolutely fine. And I tell you what, I'm going to enjoy whatever I have of my life as much as I possibly can, and that's the most important thing to do. But I just wanted to break down some of the stigma. And I love you all very much. Have yourself an amazing one. Stay safe and stay as well as you possibly can. And I will see you next time. Remember, thank you.